Hello, hello, hello. Kevin here, coming at you with an extra deep voice this morning because, as you can probably tell, I have not spoken much since I got up. So my voice is all smooth, jazz, I don't know. Hi, how's it going? I don't know. It's fun waking up and you're like, oh, I have a totally different voice. I'm going to sing Old Man River. Anyway, I don't usually, but no, normally my voice goes fluctuating all over the place, and so, yeah. But usually I have not much of a bass range, so it's always exciting to wake up and be like, just for like a brief moment I get to experience what that must be like for a lot of people. Anyway, today I have another video, not another video, no, another thing to share with you, and that is a second podcast. I haven't even told Alex about this, so don't, he'll be jealous. No, so I have, let me tell a story. Not really so much of a story. So back in high school, I was taking piano lessons. I was pretty good at the piano at the time, and I eventually got invited to start playing for groups at church. And I ended up just being like the church accompanist for tons and tons of stuff. Eventually, I started, playing on such a regular basis that I was making like accompaniment money. So I was taking money from the church and spending it on like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. So if that's not sacrilege, I don't know what is. I also started working in the later high school years at a singing restaurant where the waitstaff would sing songs, and I would play the piano the entire time. So the waitstaff would be serving, and then whenever they got a free moment, they'd come up and they'd just sing a song, and I would accompany, and then I would transition out of it. And I just basically, like, from my perspective, I would drive my car to this place, I would get out, and I would sit down at a piano, and then I would just play for like 6 hours, and then I would leave. Now, interestingly enough, there are not many songs that last 6 hours. So one of the skills that it allowed me to develop was just like randomly playing stuff that sounded pleasant, not really in song form, just stuff, but like transitioning into different keys and random stuff like that. And I miss that. When I went out to college, I initially was a music major before I was into computer science, and so I was playing for some of the choirs. I was accompanying a lot of the vocal students, and then once I stopped doing some of that, I ended up playing and music directing and stuff for a bunch of theater productions, dinner theater stuff professionally, and then community theater stuff, and it was a ton of fun. And then I went to New York, and all of that stopped. It was very weird because basically I was working professionally. If you define professionally, it's getting paid at least a tiny little bit from the ages of 15 to 22. So I was like 7 years. So I had a 7-year career as a pianist, and pretty much nonstop. Like, there was always something that I was doing that was like piano and getting paid for it in nature. And then that pretty much stopped when I went to New York. I moved to New York, and there were a couple of reasons. One was that I was epileptic, and I was frustrated that I was having to just not drive again, because this had happened so many times where I built up kind of a lifestyle, and I was like, oh, now I can't drive. I guess I just have to not work for you anymore. Bye, thanks, no notice. No, I'm not giving you 2 weeks. I can't drive. I can't do my job. And that was very frustrating. So I said, you know what, I don't want to have to rely on other people. I don't want to have to feel like I'm giving up on lifestyle options. I'm going to move to New York. It's going to be great. The second reason is that I was like, hey, maybe I could do like acting and music stuff too, like in the downtime. Well, it turns out that in New York, it is really not, they're not super eager to just be like, oh, you have a little bit of skill in something? Oh my God, that's exactly what we've been looking for. Please come on over. That basically you need to be able to have like free time in the middle of the day. It's not just like, oh yeah, you'll just work evenings. Perfect. No, you need to be able to take time off in the day and audition and rehearse and blah, blah, blah. And so that became not particularly viable. So I had this whole period of just not playing piano for reasons other than just like, I kind of feel like playing today. But then that's hard. That's a hard habit to force yourself to get into. Anyway, all this brings me around to the idea that I do want to have some sort of accountability structure that makes me play the piano again. And in particular, I'd like to eventually get to the point where I could start writing songs and stuff again, but I want to have a reason to play. And so I have a second podcast now that is I'm calling it SudoSongs. And I'm spelling that SUDO songs because I think that is funny to me because it's a computery thing. It has nothing to do with the podcast itself. But basically, it's just me turning on the keyboard and then just playing for several minutes. I guess of varying length. It's not going to be a song. It's not going to be anything spectacular. It could be nice background music if you're trying to read a book or something. I don't really know. I'm notoriously bad at judging my own piano skills. But anyway, if you're interested in listening to that sort of thing and having it coming at you on a weekly basis, it's going to be coming at you on Saturdays. There is a problem with podcasts, and that is that you can't submit things to a lot of podcast stores like iTunes until you have a few episodes out. So right now I'm going to point you to SudoSongs, SudoSongs.com. There'll be a link in the description as well. You can go ahead and listen. I'll have it up. There'll be a SoundCloud embed up on there. And then as soon as I have you could actually subscribe via the RSS feed if you know what you're doing with podcasty type stuff. But as soon as I get the thing up on iTunes after a few weeks, I'll go ahead and let you know about it then as well, if that's something that you're interested in. If it's not, that's totally fine too. But I figured this would be a fun thing to do, and it's not going to be necessarily high pressure, but still gives me a reason to play and have fun. So it is Saturday. I hope that you are beginning to enjoy your weekend. I'm not quite sure when this will be up because I still got to upload some stuff. But yeah, have a fantastic rest of your day and have a fantastic weekend. I will see you tomorrow to talk about KS programming. And then, wow, we are done with that whole week of spamming your inboxes. So have a great one. Cheers.